What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Squeeze the Juice. Another week, another episode. Tonight, we have the NBA Draft Lottery. We are all repping the worst team in basketball, our hometown crew. We do have Tyler, a.k.a. FueledByMotown, back with us for another week. Third time's the charm.
You guys just can't get enough of me, so.
That's true.
We want the people happy.
What a perfect occasion with the draft lottery. Pistons obviously at the forefront. Detroit sports in these dark times find themselves in these fun positions to be in where we can actually talk about it. Not that I want to be talking about the Pistons in the lottery. I'd prefer them playing in the postseason right now, but let's talk lottery, right? It's about to kick off.
Yeah, in a few minutes, a few short minutes.
Obviously, the Pistons tied with the Spurs and the Rockets for the best odds at landing Victor Wembanyama. Wemby, as I like to call him. I mean, what are our thoughts here? What are our prevailing thoughts? Because obviously, you know, people are saying it's a once-in-a-generation type of player. He's a freak, but
Don't do it.
I don't know. You guys tell me your thoughts.
He's not riding the hype train.
It's just a little. I'm a little pessimistic. I'm not going to crown him. Yeah, I want to see him first. You know, he's playing overseas. We haven't really seen him go up against, you know, NBA level competition or even in the college game where you get a better sense of it. It's tough to tell right now what he's going to be like because we've never seen anything like him. So that's where I get a little skeptical. But by all accounts, he's going to be a stud. It's just to what extent? You know, is he going to be an all-star? Is he going to be a superstar? Is he going to be a top player in the league for years? MVP? Who knows?
Do you think people would feel differently if he played in, like, the Spanish league, like how Luka did, where the competition's a little higher than the French league?
I think so. I mean, Luka played for Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's a really good basketball
16,
club.
17.
Yeah, and he was the leader on the team. I think he was the captain, MVP.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bit of a difference there when you're talking about... And French basketball is good. Don't get it twisted. French basketball is good, but it's not the Spanish league. The Spanish league is much more competitive, different style of play, too. So it's going to be interesting to see how he transitions to the NBA, but I'm just not quick to crown him as this, you know, gift from God. I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to rush.
So I'm gonna change. I'm gonna shift the tone to more excitement since it's the lottery. But I think Wembanyama is gonna be a fantastic player. I think I would hesitate. I would tend to agree with you more if he wasn't such a physical and athletic freak. But he wasn't just the best player in that league. He looked like he was men amongst boys, and he was playing in that league at 17, 18 years old, so I don't think he's going to have any problem transitioning to the NBA. I think he is the best prospect since LeBron James, and you could even argue possibly a better prospect. You're right. He at the end of the day, he's a prospect, right? And we're about to get the draft underway here soon, but I'm extremely excited if we get the number one pick and the rights to draft him. But the top three, I'll be happy with. Give me Scoot or Brandon Miller. I'll be happy with either of those guys. Ultimately, with the NBA draft, I know we talked about the NFL draft a few weeks ago. Ultimately, with the NBA draft, you draft just best player available, and you worry about fit later. So ultimately, Wembanyama would be perfect. Brandon Miller would be a great fit to what this team needs. Scoot kind of makes the roster a little clunky, but ultimately, those are the three most talented players in the draft by quite a long margin. So that's what we're hoping for. We're just hoping for talent and the optimism to, you know, be a competitive team in the near future, whether that means you have to make some roster changes down the road or not. I'm excited for it. I'm a little nervous, you know, looking at it. You know, Detroit has a 48% chance at the fifth pick. And equal odds to Houston and San Antonio for picks 1 through 4. So it's not like Detroit has a massive advantage. Really, the only thing that they have going for them besides Houston and San Antonio is their floor of pick 5 versus 6 or 7. So we'll see what happens. What about you, Justin? How do you feel about Wemby? How do you feel about the situation, Detroit, draft night?
I think he's going to be a great player. As long as he's healthy, I think he'll be a great player no matter what. I think how his ceiling is completely determined by where he goes. Like, there's only certain teams I think he can fit with that where he can like really like hit that like crazy like generational talent level.
I think he's such a great prospect that whoever drafts him, nothing else matters besides focusing your whole team around building around him. Even Detroit, as much as I love Cade, and I'm about as big a fan of Cade as there is, but let's just be honest, if Wemby comes to Detroit, it's gonna probably it's gonna be Cade's team, but Wemby's the star. Like, it just is. And that's what the team's gonna be built around. And no matter who drafts Wembanyama, you're gonna disagree that Wembanyama is a great player, but you have to agree with me that he has so much hype, and whoever drafts him, that's what your team's going to be built around. Just like LeBron, just like Zion, that's what your team becomes. So there might be different coaches and different systems that use him differently, but I think that sky's the limit for him. So
I think he's got a greater draw than Cade Cunningham does in terms of viewership, in terms of eyes, in terms of
I'm not trying to dog Cade at all. I don't want to get put into that pool. I love Cade. Cade's probably my favorite player in the NBA. He is my favorite player in the NBA, bar none. So I'm not getting into the pool of I'm not a Cade guy at all. Cade's the man. He's reps Detroit. I love Cade. So I want to make that very clear.
No, it's clear. I'm just saying. I think when Cade, who had, in my opinion, the best rookie season in 2021. He was better than Evan Mobley. He was better than Scotty Barnes. He was better than Jalen Green by a long shot. Just didn't get the respect because he played here. He played in Detroit. This year, he got injured. So we didn't get to see the growth that he could have potentially made over the course of a season. And so now I feel like we've kind of forgotten about Cade in a way because not you, but just
I agree, especially nationally.
I think we've forgotten about Cade and the kind of player that he was supposed to be and that what he can be. This dude was a assassin in the fourth quarter at Oklahoma State, and what I hate the most is people just kind of ignore him, kind of wrote him off as soon as the Pistons won the lottery. Honestly, they kind of chilled out on their they just completely put him into the forest and said, okay, you're on your own now. Cade is sensational, and he's going to be sensational. I think he's easily the leader of this Pistons team. And if they do get Wembanyama in a few short moments here, it's still Cade's team, in my opinion. Sure, Victor's coming in, and he might be the most talented player, but I'm not going to say it's his team because there's been a lot of teams where the best player wasn't their team.
I completely agree. It's like Golden State when KD came back, right? It was Steph's team. KD might have been the best player because that was still prime KD, but it was Steph's team. I agree with you. If Wembanyama lands in Detroit, which this whole conversation might be completely pointless in 20 minutes.
It really might be.
But if this is the case, it's still Cade's team. But Wembanyama all of a sudden shifts this team into title contention in the next couple years. So
definitely catapults their ceiling, but let's operate in the real world here. They got a 14% chance of picking one and an 86% chance of picking somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about it before in private, but these guys know I'm a big Brandon Miller fan. I loved what he brought to Alabama. I know you got the whole incident where there was a tragic death that occurred at the hands of one of the Alabama players, and unfortunately, Brandon Miller had some involvement. Now,
quite feels similar to Jalen Carter, right? Doesn't it?
A little bit.
He wasn't directly involved in the death, but was involved in the situation, so it's a little dicey.
But that doesn't really concern me about drafting him, and I don't think any NBA team should have concerns about drafting him. I think in that moment, he probably didn't know.
Bad place, bad time.
And that, I hate to say it, but it felt that way in a sense. But at the same time, like, he might have known.
He might have been able to avoid better,
I mean, he could have been able to do something that would have prevented that kind of situation from occurring. But if he didn't know the gun was in the car, I mean, what's he supposed to do? If he's supposed to be picking up his friend at this time at that place, and all of a sudden his friend pulls the gun out of his car, which was his gun, by the way. It wasn't Brandon Miller's gun. It was his teammate's gun, and then shoots, someone. What is Brandon Miller supposed to do? It's just a horrible situation, and it's unfortunate that somebody got killed and all of that. But when we're talking about Brandon Miller, the player, I love him. I know his athleticism maybe not the greatest. Obviously, Wemby's a much better athlete, but what I love about Brandon Miller is his size. He'll play on the wing. I thought he was a terrific shooter, and I loved his handle with the ball as well. There's so many things I love about Brandon Miller's game that I'm not even really concerned about all the other stuff that happened. I'm going to be able to put that aside because I love what he is able to bring to a basketball court.
So I think ultimately it's the exact same. My response is the exact same thing with Jalen Carter. It's case by case. The front office needs to do their due diligence on the player. Ultimately, you do the due diligence on the situation and his involvement. If you feel like he's been mostly clear to that, then you get, it's a little bit of a red flag, so you get to know the person, Brandon Miller, the person, the human. You get to know his work ethic as a player. If you feel like it's going to be, if you get the sense that this is going to be a continual issue, if you're going to get a Ja Morant type of situation, then maybe you stay away. But if everything checks out and in your opinion, it feels like it was the wrong place at the wrong time, good kid, good player, I got no problems with it. So I'll leave all of those things up to the front office. So just focusing on the player, I agree with Evan. I think he's a great fit for the team. He's exactly what we're missing. We need some shooting. We need a wing for sure that can play some defense, a two-way wing. That's what this team needs so desperately. I like Scoot Henderson, but obviously he clogs up this roster. So
it is a clog for sure.
So Brandon Miller is more of a day one plug and play, perfect fit. Doesn't require the ball in his hands, so you're not taking the ball out of Ivy and Cade's hands. So I agree. I think Brandon Miller has got to be towards the top of your board if you're picking second or third. I think the real concern, though, is whether they fall to 4 or 5, and
of course, which is more than likely going to happen.
And that's kind of what we're preparing for.
Yes,
and you're facing the bucket of players of Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, Amen Thompson, Anthony Black, Asur Thompson.
I don't know. It's tough because you look at the positionals, the positions of them, and you're like, these aren't all like Wembanyama's the guy exactly. Based on position.
You don't have a lot of two-way wings there. It's a very forward and guard heavy draft.
Straight up.
Cam Whitmore makes some sense. I personally think if Detroit lands 4 or 5, the top of their board is probably towards the top of my board is the clean prospects of Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, and maybe like Anthony Black. I think you stay away from the Thompson twins and their up and down. They're very boomer bust.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of stick with the guys that are more high floor. Jarris Walker is compared very heavily to Isaiah Stewart. He's a very similar type of player. So we'll see what happens. So we're about 7 minutes away from the draft starting. So how are you guys feeling as far as like their likelihood of landing in a spot that you're going to be happy with? So are you guys going to be happy with top 3? Is it one or bust? How do you feel about their likelihood of landing in your preferred spot?
You can start, Justin.
I think 3 to 5 is the mental lock right now for me. I would love 1. I personally, it's tough because, it's like I don't like the spot of 2, but 2 gives you the ability. Me and you talked beforehand. We're like, it gives you the ability to truly choose between like Scoot and Miller. Mm-hmm. Like you're not stuck with one or the other.
You can do your due diligence, and if Brandon Miller ends up red flagging, then you at least have the safe option of Scoot Henderson. If you're stuck at 3, you're right. If you do your homework and Brandon Miller does not check out, you're pretty much in the same situation you are if you're picking 4, right?
Yeah.
So I agree
it's just an unfortunate circumstance. I think we're 3 or 5 is our range. I would love 1. Don't hate 2, but I don't know.
So it's 1 or 2 for you.
To me, I feel like you need 1 or 2. You really need 1 or 2.
So if it's 3, you're disappointed.
Kinda, yeah. But but it's not over. It's just the most unfortunate of the best part of the draft. You're getting the worst part of this draft because 4 or 5, everyone after 4 to whatever, everyone's just kind of in the same boat. Like, who can you find? Mm-hmm. This isn't a deep draft at all. But
no, it's super top heavy, and
for
that reason, it's probably 1 to 2 for me as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you could rock with 3 if we got Brandon Miller, if Scoot went 2, but I'm at the point where if we get 4 or 5, I'm looking to trade it. I'm looking to acquire a player that can help us right now. I cannot babysit a Cam Whitmore or a Jarris Walker. As much as I might like those players down the road, I'm not babysitting those guys. I'm not developing them. I'm trying to get a guy now to help us. So if you could package pick number 4, pick number 5 for someone on the wing, someone that could shoot the ball, play some defense, whatever the case is, I'm not picking at 4. I'm not picking at 5. I'm trading that pick immediately if I'm Detroit or whenever the opportunity becomes available. And if it's 1 to 3, I'm probably holding on. But, man, if we get the 3rd pick, I'm not feeling comfortable about that at all. It's kind of like last year where we got the 5th pick, and, you're probably looking at Keegan Murray or Jaden Ivey, depending on which way Sacramento went. They went with Keegan Murray, obviously, and I feel like that was the right pick for them. They didn't need another guard. They didn't need Jaden Ivey. They already have De'Aaron Fox. They already had Davion Mitchell. They just traded Tyrese Halliburton. They had so many guards. It was so guard heavy. Getting a Keegan Murray, I think, really helped them out. They got, obviously, the 3 seed in the West, had a phenomenal season. And Keegan Murray was sensational. So I feel like it worked out for the Pistons and the Kings. Somebody above the Pistons at 2 took Scoot Henderson. I think it would work out with us having Brandon Miller. So 1 to 3 is my range, but preferably 1 or 2, obviously. I definitely want that choice. I don't want to have to wait. Yeah. And then at 3, there goes Brandon Miller. Obviously, Wemby's off the board, and now you're stuck drafting Scoot Henderson. Yeah. It's just not... I hate Scoot's fit on this team. He's an undersized guard. Sure, he's a great athlete, but he can't shoot the 3 ball. I don't know.
Another Jalen Green.
Kind of, except maybe a better passer, maybe a better winner, a better leader. Jalen Green, I feel like, was kind of all about himself, all about the fashion, the bling. Not really about the game as much as some of the other guys in the draft are. Not that he's not, but you know what I mean. Scoot feels like he's more of a gamer, in the basketball gamer sense. Would I hate him here? I mean, I wouldn't be rooting against him, but I don't like his fit at all.
And no room for him.
Exactly, and the prospect type is, to me, very similar to Jaden Ivey, and I don't really want 2 Jaden Iveys on the team. I only need 1. We got a great one in Jaden Ivey. I don't need another.
I completely respect and completely understand that take. But like I said when we kind of started this, with the NBA draft, like what I said with the NBA draft, you take best player available, and you figure out everything else later. So you have to think about the NBA draft as your goal is to come out with the best player they possibly can. So if let's say they land 3, and someone who really, really likes Brandon Miller takes him at 2, you're going to be mad if we got Scoot Henderson.
Yes, I'd be mad. I would be mad in that sense because
I think that's crazy because everybody. No, I think that's crazy because everybody is saying that Scoot Henderson is a number 1 pick in pretty much any draft, and that isn't this one. So if you're upset that you're getting I understand the fit. I completely understand that, and I'm not trying to get into a crazy debate. I'm just saying
I love a crazy debate.
I'm just saying as far as the level of prospect, and you can disagree, but people say that the level of prospect he's close to the level of prospect as what Cade was. And so if you're and I understand he doesn't fit this roster perfectly, but if you're getting that talent on your roster, you have the power to move him. You have the ability to sit on him a year, move him for something really great. If something for example, let's say Boston wants to, make one more run, and all of a sudden next year they want to tear it down and rebuild around Tatum, and Scoot Henderson has way more trade value than what Brandon Miller probably will have, because Scoot Henderson can be a franchise point guard, which is just more value than a wing.
I mean,
right?
He's more athletic, younger.
So I'm just trying to say Scoot Henderson is tougher in the long term because you kind of feel like now you're kind of log jamming your roster short term, and you're kind of kicking the can down the road as far as when you can start competing. But I wouldn't be mad at it because you're essentially pigeonholing yourself. You're pigeonholing yourself to 2 players in this whole draft.
But that's what you have to do in the lot. We have a chance at 5 picks, and if there's 2 of the 5, that's 40% of the players that we could draft in the top 5. That's where I'm at. The thing with Scoot is, if we didn't have Jaden Ivey, let's say we had Keegan Murray last year, right? Let's say the Kings took Ivey and we took Keegan Murray. Scoot Henderson might be number 1 on my board because we would need a combo guard with Cade, someone to help him not be on the ball as much.
I agree with you. He's very similar to Ivey.
That's my issue.
Yeah, I understand
we just drafted Ivey, and if you take Scoot, I'm just saying this right now. You're basically telling Jaden Ivey that we're going to trade you
or Scoot.
I don't think you're drafting Scoot to trade him though. I think you'd be I think you'd basically be replacing Ivy
You're
at
like,
that point.
who wants to be here?
You put I was gonna say,
Exactly.
you put all three in your you're not trading Cade. You put those three on your roster and you say you don't really say it to them, but you essentially go into it like Ivy or Scoot, whoever comes out of it as the higher upside player, that's who we're keeping, and and we're open for business on the other one. And I understand it's frustrating, so maybe
frustrating.
Let's try to shift focus because maybe that situation doesn't even present itself.
Hopefully not, but it would work in college. That 3-guard lineup could work in college, but not in the NBA.
So
how long do we still have before this starts?
The lottery's getting started.
Yeah,
they're introducing every team's representatives right now. Can you not see what's going on?
No, it's okay.
You should put it on your phone or something,
okay.
and then just prop it up on your computer.
I'm rolling off of you guys.
You can see our reactions when we get number 5, and we're just.
I'm like, why is it so quiet in here?
They're introducing right now every team's representatives.
The Pistons will have Big Ben.
The Pistons have Ben
Wallace
Wallace
there when they
representing
got Cade,
them.
which means we won't get number 1 this time. It's bound to happen.
Man,
I hate to be so negative.
Ime Udoka's representing Houston.
That's
there
weird.
we go, Big Ben. Let's go.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Well,
Oh my goodness, they're already getting going.
Just
The
jump right in.
butterflies are
So the
rumbling.
Pistons can't even possibly be until 5.
Right, and they take a commercial break.
I think they take
after the 5th pick is announced. So
Okay.
we will know immediately whether we're in the top 4 or not based on what's going on here.
Either going to the commercial break with devastation.
So preparing this as they're about to announce them, what we want is for things to stay chalk. So
Yep.
if you look at your second list, or the second page, Justin, you want things to stay in order because if all of a sudden Toronto doesn't get announced for pick 14 or 13, they jump into the top 4. You see how there's a blank.
Immediately.
So you want things
That's
to
an
stay
L.
close to normal.
Oh my God, I'm
Okay,
Well, that was never going to happen.
New
I'm
Orleans
getting top 4.
got the pick.
Stay Toronto.
In Toronto, okay.
All right, now we need Oklahoma City to just stay put because this team cannot get Victor. Victor, Chet, Shea, that'd be disgusting.
Okay.
Okay, Oklahoma
So
City's
far,
at
everything's
12.
been up to speed. We're at Oklahoma City
Now,
right
I've seen Chicago on Tankathon jump up here.
I
We'll
saw.
see on this one.
Oh my goodness. Orlando Magic fell to pick.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So that was correct. Okay.
We were all freaking out for a
Chicago
second.
State at 11.
Dallas stays, okay.
So far everything's been the same. We got Dallas. Dallas picking 10.
Who? Oh, that Orlando has my heart racing. Oh, my gosh.
Here we go for 9.
Staying the same so far. It
Okay.
has stayed the same. Now we want the Wizards, although I kind of love my Wizards.
know you
so
do.
I wouldn't hate them in the top 4, but I
No,
just
that
stay
takes a
here.
spot away.
And they're here. Yep, that's
Okay.
another Johnny Davis loading.
like I said, Justin, if anyone isn't in the right spot, that means there's one spot less in the top 4.
We need Indiana here.
So far, everything's been chalk. We're at Indiana's pick at 7.
And now we want Orlando here.
Okay, here we
Okay,
go.
now this is where the Pistons could be picking. Number 5. Let's see Mark Tatum ruin our nights.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, I expected it. And here we are. I'm not surprised. I knew this was going to happen. We were never getting Victor Wembanyama. And now we are looking at Cam Whitmore or Jarace Walker. Except I'm not looking at him. I'm trading that pick immediately. So
We'll be back after this commercial break.
I'm putting this on.
Evan's putting the hoodie back on. The tough embarrassment right now.
At least I got Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien.
The crew, baby. We're ready for another
Well, you know what this
great
solidifies?
season.
This solidifies the Lions as the clear, convincing, and without a doubt, far none, the best team in Detroit sports. And it's going to stay that way for quite some time because the Pistons, not only do they not get Victor Wembanyama, they're not getting Scoot Henderson, they're not getting Brandon Miller, and who cares who they get at 5 because it's over. It's over. It's Cade's team still. That's the one thing we can say. We can be happy about that. It's Cade's team.
And we haven't even seen him really play with the whole crew. And the crew got a lot of extra peeps now.
Wow. So are we going again?
Yeah, we're back. We've been back in.
Yeah, I don't know what to say anymore. So now I might as well just read this because it's important to read. I'll go through the picks that are remaining. So we got Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland left. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go through all those teams, including Detroit, and tell you how many times they've moved up and moved down in the draft. And I'll finish with the Pistons. The Houston Rockets have moved up in their position 1 time and have moved down in their position 2 times. San Antonio has moved up in their position 3 times and have never dropped lower than their projected spot 0 times.
Wow.
The Charlotte Hornets have moved above their projected position 4 times and have moved under it 6 times. Ooh. The Portland Trailblazers have moved above their position 2 times and under their position also 2 times. The Detroit Pistons have moved above their projected spot 1 time, and it was for the Cade Cunningham draft lottery when they moved from 2 to 1, and they have moved down from their projected position 7 times, now 8. 8 times the Detroit Pistons have moved down.
All right.
Number 4. Thank goodness.
So the Houston Rockets moved down from Houston's 2 to 4, which means San Antonio, Portland, and Charlotte are left. Portland Trailblazers are probably going to get Brandon Miller at pick 3 now.
Charlotte can get scooped.
Here you go. Second pick. This tells you who picks 1. Oh, my goodness. San Antonio landed Victor Wembanyama.
Yes. Thank goodness.
Wow.
Okay,
so I don't believe that the NBA lottery is scripted, but you have to wonder because who was the team that everyone was saying Victor should go to?
The Spurs.
San Antonio.
And I think that too.
Because you can't
There you go. They've been awful for years now. And now they're getting the
just
Tim
so we're
Duncan,
clear now, the San Antonio Spurs have never moved down and have moved up to the number 1 pick 3 times.
Well,
who's repping them?
All 3 times the San Antonio Spurs have won the lottery, they didn't actually have the worst record in the league that year. So,
tell me is that the team you're least upset though that got them?
Honestly, I don't even care.
I'll be Tyler.
I'll be completely honest with you. This is bullcrap. This is ridiculous.
For Pistons, yeah.
The Pistons are now going to be lucky if they get Cam Whitmore.
That's not.
Lucky to get Cam Whitmore.
I just can't even. I can't fathom it. I mean,
we need to trade this pick. It needs to go. It needs to go for something. I don't care.
Brian Windhorst is doing an interview with Victor Wembanyama live.
Well, now that LeBron's, getting near the retirement spot, Wendy's got to find a new star to, follow around and be a mosquito too. So it's going to be Victor. Wendy's chosen Victor, and he's going to be a Spur.
Yeah. And Greg Popovich is going to be coaching until he's 95 because
he has nothing. That's his life. He sadly lost his wife a couple years ago, so basketball's been everything to him. And he's a great coach.
So
I'll tell you, I was okay with him in San Antonio or Portland, but if he would have went to Charlotte or Houston.
So does the 5th pick do anything for this team besides it's just a trade chip? At this point, and the crazy thing is, in the NBA draft, especially this NBA draft, the 5th pick is a throw-in. It's not even a top piece in a trade. It's like the second piece in a trade, right? You would have to trade, Duran and a 5th pick if you wanted to get something significant, right? And they're not trading either of the top 3, you know? So they're not trading Ivy, Cade, or Duran. So what is the 5th pick and...
You'd have to throw in like Killian and Stu.
What's their next best draft asset? Bojan? Bojan in the 5th pick gets you what? It gets you like maybe a Bojan, maybe 5 years younger. That's what it gets you.
No, they're going to be stuck picking at 5, and then
I think they'll find someone who just wants to get a top pick on the cheap, and they'll throw him like a reasonably young player. But you're not getting a star with that package. The Pistons got screwed again, and it's Detroit versus everybody. They've now dropped in the lottery 8 times. I have to imagine that's more than anybody. I have to imagine.
Absolutely.
Well, you got to be in the lottery that many times to even get
the
to
only
that
thing I
number,
can say about
we're
this
in the lottery
lottery
every single year.
The only thing I can say positively about this lottery is that no crazy team jumped up into the top 4. The only teams that dropped were Detroit and Houston. Everything else was pretty much...
They're literally the 2 worst teams.
Right? Does Charlotte get 2, right?
Well, it was the NBA saying you're done tanking. That's for sure. This whole thing is scripted. There's no way it's not.
I mean, let's be honest.
The Wizards never move up.
Let's be honest.
They never move up.
Let's be honest. Charlotte didn't want to... Like, the NBA didn't want Charlotte to lose LaMelo, so they go and give them Scoot Henderson so that LaMelo sticks around. San Antonio, the NBA is just a better product when San Antonio is good, and Popovich is the best coach ever. So give him Wemby. I mean, and Portland, Dame Lillard wants out, and Portland's a poverty franchise without Dame Lillard, so they throw in Brandon Miller. Detroit has Cade. Houston has Jalen Green. So, I mean, you have to... I don't believe that the NBA is rigged, but you can put up the storylines, right?
It's rigged.
You could make it be whatever you want it to be.
You cannot tell me it's not rigged.
So I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I can't believe we're going through this for the second year in a row. What, Detroit finished with the 2nd or 3rd worst record last year?
Last year it was the 3rd worst record.
And they dropped to 5, and they got lucky. Jaden Ivey fell in their lap. Lucky. And no, that's not happening this year. No team's taking Cam Whitmore in the top 3. And they're 5. So no one's taking Cam Whitmore and Jarris Walker in the top 3, and you're getting Scooter or Miller to fall in your lap. That's not happening.
Cam Whitmore would have been a fringe top 10 pick last year, and now he's going to be the best player on the board at 4. It makes no sense.
Let's just the Pistons will trade this pick. I mean, I would put less than 20% that the Pistons actually keep this pick and make it. They will trade it. They'll package Bojan in 5, and they'll get something very underwhelming that.
Okay, Jeremy Grant back.
We could sign Jeremy, so we don't even have to trade for him.
Well. Jeremy,
which I don't know if I agree with.
The Portland Trailblazers could offer him more money. So
right.
The Portland Trailblazers could do, give us Bojan and 5, and we'll give you, Jeremy and a future first, and that's going to be what the Pistons get for pick 5 is Jeremy effing Grant, and that's going to be our missing piece to our championship roster, and the Pistons are going to be right back where they always were, right in the middle of the pack, where they're just... And I love Cade Cunningham, but let's just be honest. A top 3 pick was what we needed.
This team needs talent, and we added 0. We added nothing. We added literally nothing.
So the only way that Detroit comes out of this situation, unscathed, is if Troy Weaver goes into his bag and finds a diamond in the rough at 5.
It's done. It's over. This team is done. It's Cade and Ivy and no one else.
Cade has
Duran too. I don't want to disrespect Duran.
Cade has to be a superstar now. Cade has to be a top 10 player. Ivy has to be a perennial all-star, and Duran has to be a fringe all-star for this team to go anywhere besides.
And that's asking for so much.
Yeah, and literally year 2 and 3.
And that's asking a lot out of your young players.
And that's we still have no one on the wing.
We got no one on the wing. We don't have any depth. Let's be honest. Livers is is a
role player.
Is a role player.
He's the seventh, eighth
Stewart
man off
is
the
a
bench.
role player. Killian Hayes doesn't belong in the NBA.
About
Sad.
time. Thank
It's
goodness. I said that since day one.
It's just
I held
this
out
is
for so long.
ridiculous. I just can't believe we finished with the worst record and we had to go through that garbage season with no Cade for Jarris Walker. Are you kidding me? Like, that is crazy.
17 wins for Eamon Thompson.
I know. Yeah, if we take Amon Thompson, I'm going to lose it. Because I know some people really like him. Don't give me just a
Harrison
raw
Brothers
athlete.
part two.
Amon Thompson can't play basketball. He's just an athlete. He's an athlete.
He can't shoot.
You know,
None of these guys can shoot. That's the thing,
can't
too.
Shoot.
None of these guys
he,
can shoot.
He's
You
just an
needed that-
athlete.
you
He's
needed to be
Jalen
Melly.
Ivey with even worse shooting, with worse potential. You know,
Dude, I was not even greedy. I was so convinced. All right, maybe we're just gonna. I was saying we're gonna get the fifth overall pick, but I was in my head. I was like, we're gonna get 2 or 3, and we're gonna get Brandon Miller. It's gonna be fine. No, this is nightmare. This is
Troy
nightmare.
Weaver is put a wall through the conference room that he was sitting in.
A hole?
I know that he did that. He put a hole in the wall with his head. Okay, and I'm telling you that.
I mean, 2 years ago they had that whole lottery party, right? Everyone was watching the lottery together. They're going crazy. Now the scenes are probably destruction. Destruction.
We've moved up in the draft lottery one time. One.
And we
That's
got my
it.
favorite players since.
If we just would have stayed where we
Ever.
were, we would have had the number 1 pick. Right? Is that too much to ask for? Just to pick the pick that we're projected? No, we couldn't even get 3 last year, right? We had to fall to 5, okay? Like, once again, we got lucky that draft, but it's not happening again, right?
Did we even did we get lucky though?
Yeah,
Like,
I think,
did we get
I think
lucky?
at 3 they would have taken Ivy anyway.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't. Your
it was
options there were Jabari and Keegan Murray. And there was rumor they liked Keegan Murray a lot.
I'm gonna say we didn't get lucky last year. We did not get lucky. We dropped to 5. If we would have taken Ivy
we
at
got
3,
lucky that how the draft fell. We did not get lucky in the lottery.
I guess.
We
But
got
at the same
bailed
time,
out
like,
from the crap
I
of
would
the
say we got
lottery.
bailed out.
Pretty
I
much
wouldn't even
from
say we got lucky. We got
hating,
bailed out.
Ivy hating Sacramento that much. Only he gave the boot.
But
God, we're picking 5, and this is the worst draft to pick 5 because last year there was actual
is a terrible
5
pick.
prospects that
Yeah,
you could
because
say.
Ivy, Murray,
Right.
Matherin was 6, chilling at 6. It wasn't
Apollo,
horrible.
Shaden Sharp was a sleeper.
Exactly. That's another thing.
There was a lot of interesting prospects. It was a very deep draft class last year, and you had guys like
There wasn't like a bona fide mega star at the top, but it was considered a pretty deep, talented draft.
Do you think if B. Millie goes, what? Are the Blazers are 3, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think if Brandon Miller goes 2, for whatever reason, to the Hornets, do you think the Blazers take Scoot and see if they can do something with Dame?
I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, that's how the top 3 rolls. It's going to be Wemby, and then some order of Miller, Scoot, probably Scoot, then Miller. But those 2 are the next 2
I'm
picks.
saying if the Blazers,
Yeah, the Blazers would take Scoot.
If-
They're not going to pass up on Scoot Henderson. They
I
take
know.
Scoot, and then are you asking how they'd handle the Dame situation?
yeah,
My guess is they would just
keep Scoot and see
they
what they
would
can
just keep
do
all
until
3,
Dame.
and they'd
Yeah,
sit. They yeah,
because you have a Freddie
they-
Simmons, you have
I was gonna
Shaden
say
Sharp,
they
you have
Simons too.
Yeah, you have
My guess
Simons.
is they'd probably make some trade somehow, but they probably would try to keep Scoot, knowing that Scoot is, a great prospect. Maybe they try to move Simons because he's getting paid so much.
You know what you do is you tell, hey Philly, you want Dame? Give us some stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
It's over. The Pistons are done.
let's
I
just-
mean,
we're just gonna sit here and pound the table. So
You were.
this is
It's over.
Do you agree with what Mason said? I told him that. He's like, if we don't get a top 3 pick, we're gonna not be challenging for another 5 years.
I'm not going to go that far because I believe in Cade Cunningham more than most, and I do think that him and Ivy and Duren can really do something at some point. But it started with this draft. It started with getting a top 2 pick, like we talked about beforehand. And now that we're picking at 5, you have to find a way to either trade up, which is very hard to do in the NBA. It is extremely hard to trade up in the NBA. In 2018, if I got my year right, the Dallas Mavericks trade up with Atlanta to
One
take
spot though.
2 spots. They would
was 2?
trade up from 3 to 5, or trade up from 5 to 3 to get Luka. They had to give up a first-round pick next year in the process of doing that, and it was
paid off for them though.
It did. But the thing is with the Pistons is our draft pick is tied up because of some crazy heavy protection that Troy Weaver set up a few years back where we can't trade future picks basically unless we get that pick back. Now, it's currently with the Knicks, so if you're able to get that pick back from the New York Knicks, then you could maybe trade a future pick and go from 5 to 3 like the Mavericks did a couple years ago. The thing is
it worth that to get maybe Scoot or B. Millie?
I think it is, but at the same time, I'm looking to add someone to help right now if I'm trading the number 5 overall pick. I'm adding a winger. I'm adding someone that can shoot the ball, that can defend. I'm not waiting around to take the 5th overall guy in this draft. I'm trading that pick immediately for whatever I can get because guess what? Whatever you can get is probably better than the 5th overall pick in this year's draft. And that's just the bottom line.
My face is just burning red because I'm just so mad. I am. I'm heated. I cannot believe in this draft we fell. We had the worst record. We had to go through a whole season without watching Cade Cunningham. Yes, we had Ivy and Duran, but that season was a mess. We had to watch Killian Hayes start, okay? Like, this season was a travesty. We have the best prospect that we probably have ever seen in the NBA available, and another prospect that most widely consider a number 1 pick in pretty much any other draft, and another really good prospect, and we end up with none of them. We're ending up taking, what we had to do in the Killian draft, where we were out of the sweepstakes of Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and James Wiseman, and we had to, take the garbage left between all these, just crapshoot prospects, and that's what these are. And I'm heated. This season was a travesty. The Pistons, the NBA does not want a team in Detroit. Like, they just don't.
It's a move to Vegas.
Like this fan base loves this team so much, and we want basketball to be relevant in this town, but football, hockey, and even baseball trumps this sport in this town because this team gets screwed every chance that they can.
Not wrong.
So
well,
I'm I'm sorry for raising my voice, but
no,
you got me right.
The Pistons are the red-headed stepchild. That's just what it is.
Like they had, if they would have gotten Victor Wembanyama, they automatically are competing with the Lions to be the most relevant team in this city. They're right there, and now we're right back to number 4. They're right back to. I'd rather
battling the Tigers.
The casual sports fan would rather watch the Red Wings or the Tigers than come to a Pistons game. And we got Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. There's no disrespect to what the team has right now. It's just.
We need more.
We went through that season. We deserved a top 3 pick. We did. Okay, maybe asking for Victor, maybe a little greedy because of just how this lottery system is, but we deserved a top 3 pick. This is terrible. We were the only team that fell as low as we did. We fell down.
Literally just us in Houston.
We fell down. Yeah, but Houston fell down 2 picks. We fell down. What? No,
3.
What did Houston fall to? 4.
Yeah, and
they
we're
fell down
5.
2 picks. We fell down 4 picks. Okay,
and that's it.
Every other team either moved up or stayed. Every other team. There was only 2 teams that fell: Detroit and Houston. Houston fell
honestly,
2 picks.
If
Detroit would have fell 2 picks, we have Brandon Miller.
Honestly, I would have much rather had a team like Dallas bump up to the top 4. You know what?
Like,
who cares at that point? At least it's exciting. This just pisses you off. This is just angry.
I'm sorry. I love Cade Cunningham. I love him so much. But Cade Cunningham, the one time we've moved up in the draft lottery history, Cade Cunningham is not worth dropping the lottery 8 times. It's just unacceptable. I think the NBA overcorrected with their lottery system. Did they not?
They did.
The Philadelphia 76ers absolutely exploited the lottery system where it was almost inevitable that you'd get the top pick if you got the worst record, where you had a 40-something% chance of the top pick. It was pretty much a coin flip, and the NBA...
You were locked into the top 3, weren't you? Top 3 or 4?
Yeah, the NBA then changed it, and they overcorrected. 14% chance at the number 1 pick, and you have the worst record in the NBA.
17
and you
wins.
have a 78 or a 48% chance at the number 5 pick. That's just...
the opposite.
That's
78
the
wins,
opposite.
or 17
that's
wins.
The opposite of fair. It just is. So
17 wins.
I'm heated. I'm still going to go to the games. I still love Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. We don't have to deal with any of those conversations we wasted the first 20 minutes of this podcast with. We should have ended up just starting and talking about which of the dumpster prospects do we want. We should have just started with that. We should have known Detroit versus everybody. Next year we'll be probably in the same situation, and we'll have the 10th best odds and we'll move down to 12. That's just what will happen.
We'll be at 2 and move down to 12.
I guess we see what Troy Weaver does with this pick, if he keeps it or trades it.
Hopefully he trades
I advise he trades it, but my guess is the return that they're going to get is going to be underwhelming, and have fun with the Pistons being probably about what the Pacers were this year, where they were not bad enough to be a top lottery pick, but not good enough to even be in the playoff race, and that's what the Pistons are going to be next year.
Nope, you're 100% right.
Unless Cade Cunningham comes out and is Luka Doncic, which
they just all go on a run.
None of us dissuade what Cade Cunningham can be. So if he comes out and he's Luka next year, maybe he drags us to the playoffs. But you should not have to put that type of pressure on your number one pick. Detroit versus everybody.
I mean. There's nothing more to say.
I don't know what to say.
Detroit versus everybody.
We walked in knowing we were going to get 5. We got 5. I would love to see my reaction, honestly. I think I was smiling, honestly.
I just feel like an idiot for even talking about the top 3 prospects. I just feel like an idiot for even having that conversation.
You're like, we should just started after once the top 4 was ready and just been like devastation.
Oh, man.
Of course, it's chalk the entire way, and then we get to 5, and the Detroit Pistons.
That was the only pick that was different. Like
Nice.
I said, every team either moved up or stayed the same besides Houston or Detroit. And Houston moved down 2, and Detroit moved down 4.
Yep.
4 picks. Moving down 4 picks in a lottery is ridiculous. I mean,
it shouldn't happen.
What was it? The Red Wings a couple years ago, they had the number 1 odds. What'd they move down to? Like 6 when they end up taking.
They moved down to 6, and they got.
Then we just get screwed
Raymond.
again.
They took Lucas Raymond, which
that was
that
they
panned
got
out.
him at 4, I think. They got Raymond at 4, but that was the Lafreniere draft.
Yeah.
Luckily that panned out.
Luckily that panned out because Stevie Yzerman is a stud, and so Troy Weaver has to. If he feels like there's a diamond in the rough at 5, then maybe he shows off what Stevie did that draft and says, you thought Victor was the best pick, but maybe Cam Whitmore is the best guy in this draft. But let's just be honest, the NHL and the NBA are completely different types of systems. It's just the Pistons are in a really tough position. That's all I got to say. So I still trust Troy Weaver, but they're in a really, really tough position now. Troy Weaver really has to prove himself now. There's no longer that he's had all these gimme picks where Cade Cunningham falls in his lap, Jaden Ivey falls in his lap, and the only pick he really had to make that was tough was Killian Hayes, and he missed on. I mean, and Stewart and Bay are like, they were fine picks, but they weren't like absolute mega steals, And
he had to finesse his way around to get
Troy Weaver has to prove himself, and if he doesn't, then the Detroit Pistons will be looking for a new general manager, and they'll be Cade Cunningham might be asking his way out in a couple years, so I don't want to put myself in that situation, but the draft lottery put us in a really tough spot.
I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, it's true. It's so true. The Pistons are now in this situation where they are almost at square one, honestly. Like, sure, you have Cade and Ivey and Duran, but you're at the point now where if you're Troy Weaver, you really have to make some aggressive moves. No more of these, we're taking the guy that kind of fell off of the, the bin, the wagon a little bit, the projects, the reclamation projects in Bagley and Wiseman. Look, at some point, you got to get some guys. You got to get some actual ball players. And this roster, the way it's constructed right now, it needs some clarification. It's a mess, and it's at the hands of Troy Weaver. I got faith in Troy to get it done. I've loved what he's been able to do in the past draft days, but at the same time, the NBA season is 365 days long. The job of a general manager is all year round. It's not just one day. It's not just draft day. You have to be able to get free agents. You have to be able to make trades that make your roster better, not just adding a pool of randos. I mean, let's face it. Duran, Bagley, Wiseman, Stewart, all kind of the same player. I mean, they all do something a little bit differently, and Duran, I think, is easily the best of the bunch, but they're all kind of the same player. When are we going to get someone that can actually fit a team need, fit a role on this team? It's just a bunch of nonsense.
I think he's going to start doing that now. I mean, James Edwards and a lot of the guys who cover the team pretty closely made it pretty clear that the direction is changing. That now they're trying to start winning. That all that stuff is going to cut it out. My guess is they'll try to move Bagley in his contract at some point in the offseason, and they're going to try to clean out this roster. Trust me, they understand that at this point now, without the lottery luck, Cade Cunningham is what you got. And if he starts to get unhappy, NBA teams, you don't have the leverage that you do in like, in other leagues. If your superstar wants out, you're in a tough position. So the Pistons are very aware of that. So I do think that all that reclamation project stuff will stop and they'll try to start winning. But
it better. And I trust Duran, I trust Ivy, and you guys know I trust in Cade a whole bunch. So if they can find a way to make this roster better, some way, somehow, around those three guys, then maybe we got something. But it's a sad, somber day for Pistons fans, for Pistons Nation, and we have to look at our other teams now. We'll get some Tigers wins over the course of the summer. Red Wings, hopefully they make a move, and obviously the Lions
are ready to roar.
They're going to be ready to go.
Didn't the Red Wings end up getting the spot that they were projected? They didn't move up
they
either.
didn't move down for the first time ever, which was a win in itself.
Mm-hmm.
They could have moved down to 10.
Tough spot.
Yeah,
because this draft, this draft's a little different.
This was
top heavy. This was a top heavy draft.
Everything was set up for the Pistons to score.
About the Wings.
Oh,
you're good. I was talking about the wing draft because this was purely almost like this draft.
But off the top of my head,
this was another superstar draft lottery for the NHL. They had a mega star,
Connor Bedard.
The top man.
But off the top of my head, last year number 5 overall, obviously Ivy. But the year before was Josh Giddey. Like, those are two really good players. There's not a Josh Giddey or Jaden Ivey in this draft.
There's not,
and that's what
a top 10.
And that's what really gets me upset. That's what really gets me upset.
Yep.
And the year before was Jalen Suggs, I think, who hasn't been great, but he's also been injured. I think there's still something there. Maybe
it's better than any of these guys.
I would take Jalen Suggs. At 5. A few years ago, I'd take him over whoever else is. Jalen Suggs.
Killian?
No, Jalen Suggs did go 5, but Josh Giddey went 6. That's my mind got a little mixed up there. But still, having a Josh Giddey available at 5, I'd take that all day over.
I'm tired of being
Amin Thompson.
I'm
Anthony
just tired
Black.
of being
Anthony Black stinks, man.
I'm tired of being the team that the NBA laughs at. I'm ready to start being
Kings,
the Pistons. Yeah,
it's us now. Us and the Hornets.
Whoa, Troy Weaver's got some work to do. That's all I got to say.
I have nothing else to say.
It's a sad day.
It's a sad day.
It's a bad day. It's a sad day. Pistons are now back in the cellar. Let's see if they can crawl their way out. But
Detroit.
I don't love their odds with the number 5 overall pick. But in Cade we trust.
Yeah,
it's not in Weaver. It's in Cade. It's in Ivy.
Cade and
it's
Ivy, I still believe in heavy. I believe in your man Duran. So.
And now we'll see who they hire as coach. Who is going to want to come here to coach this team?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Well, Detroit versus everybody. Forever lives on. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.